Video game releases are to a penny these days, with consoles seeing hundreds if not thousands of games releasing on any system throughout their lifespan. But throughout this lifespan there's always a handful of games that are something special indeed, and are a true pinnacle of what the media can offer. We've seen it in this generation with games like The Witcher 3, Zelda Breath of the Wild and the recent God of War. But now we can add a new game to the list as Rockstar is back with arguably their best work to date. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a huge love letter to the Western era, a game that's so sprawling and a world that's so lived in it has to be seen to be believed. You can guess, Red Dead 2 is a sequel to the 2010 classic, but it's in fact a prequel to that game, happening some 13 years before that game. This tale focuses on the Van der Linde gang, a group of bandits on the run from the Wild West as the age of the cowboy is coming to an end, and the rule of law is starting to spread the land. You are Arthur Morgan, second in command to the leader of the group, Dutch van der Linde, a rough 30-something who's been with Dutch for a large part of his life, and our gang's main aim is to escape the law, make loads of money, and try to find a better life. It's a special story that starts slow and gradually gets going, but it's cleverly done, so when it gets going it rarely has time to stop. And even though you're playing as Arthur, it isn't just Arthur's story, it's in fact a story about each and every member of the Van der Linde gang. As you go through the game, your bond between these characters grows, thanks to the missions and quiet time between missions where you just have conversations between them. And it's in these quieter moments that they really do shine. So when the shit hits the fan and characters eventually die, it can be really quite heartbreaking when you've made bonds with so many of these characters. And this care and attention made to the story also reaches its way through the game's huge amount of missions on offer. The game's opening hours are really quite slow as the band of outlaws are forced to find shelter in a dangerous snowy mountain, and it's here in the game's first couple of hours where it teaches you the mechanics of the game. So when you finally let loose in this huge open world, then you have some idea what you have to do to survive in this big old world. Missions themselves vary and there is a good mix of them. The earlier missions, as I said, work like tutorials and give you an insight on how the game works. But as you go through the game, Red Dead eventually ramps up the ante, delivering plenty of heist shootouts and chases, and it all works really well. It does feel much more slower paced than Rockstar's huge hit GTA 5, but I think it works in its favour and delivers much better mission design and world building for it. And boy is it one hugely impressive open world. The map consists of several different states to make a pretty huge map that is first is all fogged up, so from the get-go the game encourages you to explore to reveal the rest of the map. Throughout exploring the big old world I did feel reminded of Zelda Breath of the Wild, mainly due to how amazing and interesting it is to find out more about this beautiful world. It also helps along your journey as you travel along you meet endless NPCs that you can talk to, rob and provoke, which really makes all these NPCs feel like real living people. It also helps that some of them have small little favours to ask of you and you are free to decide how you help them. Many times I was moseying around and I heard a scream of help and I look around. And one time there was this woman on the floor as a horse collapsed on top of her, so I helped her and took her home and she rewarded me with info on where I could make some more money. The beauty of these random encounters is that they're all entirely optional and you could just walk straight past, but you'd be missing out a lot. There is a fast travel system here, but it does take a little while to unlock, but honestly, during my time with the game, I never thought of using it once. Using fast travel feels like a disservice to the player, as each time you travel from A to B, you're always meeting new people and getting in all sorts of trouble that you're really cheating yourself out of a big part of the game if you do fast travel. Another big part of the game is the hunting element. The game's map is littered with well over 100 types of animals to hunt, skin, and find. The hunting element is essentially a meta game in its own. With such a big ecosystem of animals here, you can easily find yourself a rabbit or a deer to hunt, but to get a perfect kill you have to use a bow and shoot at a specific point of an animal to get that perfect kill. Perfect kills get better value skins and meat, so if you want more money in the game, hunting is a pretty reliable income. There's also special legendary animals that are pretty hard to hunt and require some preparation to get them, but if you do hunt them down then you'll be rewarded with a lot of money. Hunting will certainly not be for everyone, but bar some main missions, hunting is entirely optional during your free time, which is good. As for the other things to do in that downtime between missions, you can do some fetch quests for the members of the gang, to shopping in the various stores, to even playing poker and dominoes. There's also a load of side missions from strangers to keep you busy as well. As you go through the world, you have to remember to keep Arthur well fed, rested, and clean. In a way to add a bit of realism to the game, Arthur's stats will go down if you don't feed him, and it will affect combat and exploration. So you have to make sure Arthur is well looked after, but don't feed him too much, or he'll put on weight and struggle to run, and folks will comment about his appearance. These realistic mechanics also extends to your trusty steed, as your horse needs plenty of care too. As Arthur, you have to keep your horse well fed, groomed, and loved, and this in turn reaps rewards like better horse performance as well as some cool tricks to pull off with it. Though I would have to say, as you go through the game, you should try and buy a few horses as a backup, as you may end up losing your horse in a fight or an accident, which has happened to many people I know. Going back to the combat now, and the encounters with the enemies are really fun. The guns feel really authentic, especially when using a rifle, as you have to press R2 again to load the next round. The shooting mechanics still feel very much like in GTA 5, as you have to press L2 to aim your gun, and your reticle will auto-aim at an enemy for you to shoot. It can be quite helpful at times, but sometimes it can aim at the wrong enemy, which can be awkward. The Deadeye mechanic returns from the first game, which slows down time to allow you to shoot plenty of folks in such a short time. It's a great get out of jail card when you're crowded by enemies. The game also has a cover system, and that can be a bit of a pain at times. You press L1 for Arthur to get to the nearest bit of cover, and while it does work, Arthur can be a bit too stiff when you want to get out of cover, and that's where we come to my only real big complaint about the game. Its controls. It's strange really, for as brilliant, cutting edge and revolutionary Rockstar games are, their controls feel still like something from 15 years ago. The controls will certainly take some time to get used to, but once you get a few hours in, they do become second nature. Though I do have to say, mashing the X button to run or gallop faster is a damn pain. Why they couldn't let you hold the button and not lose momentum would have been a much better idea. Throughout the game, you'll be given plenty of choices throughout your journey, and some of these will affect how you tackle a mission, like whether you want to go in all guns blazing or take a quieter approach. This is a nice little addition to add some player choice to the game, as well as a bit of replayability if you want to see how the other option works. These decisions also tie in a bit to the game's new morality system, which allows you to play Arthur as either a real nice guy or a right arsehole. The decision is entirely yours. You gain morality points for doing nice things like helping random folks and bringing in bounties alive, but in turn you lose points for killing innocent folks, robbing strangers, and generally ignoring people's cries of help. This morality system is also a nice addition to the game that does make you think about your actions, and it also helps that whatever morality level you are, it can affect the game's story and ultimately what ending you get. For me, I played Arthur as good as I could. I did the occasional bad thing to see how it went, but for the majority of the time, I was a friendly cowboy. And if you didn't know already, the game is an absolutely huge and lengthy adventure that will take you a long time to complete indeed. The story consists of 100 or so main missions that are tied to the game's story, some of which are optional, but you'd be missing out a lot if you didn't do them. As well as that, you have your stranger quests, random encounters, more side quests, hunting, replaying missions for gold medals, and honestly, to complete it a good 100%, you're looking at well over 100 plus hours easily. But if you just want to go straight through the story doing little of the side stuff as possible, then you're talking around 30 hours. But for folks who like to take their time, then I would say this is more in line to 60 to 70 hours to complete the main story. It's also worth noting that this isn't the end of the content on offer, as Rockstar is busy at work for an online mode for Red Dead Redemption 2 called Red Dead Online. This isn't available at launch, but will apparently go into beta sometime in November, but no concrete release date has been announced yet. But you can't be sure if you do buy Red Dead Redemption 2, you certainly be getting a lot of game for your money, and this game will certainly last you months on end. Presentation wise now, and my word, Rockstar has well and truly outdone themselves here with Red Dead 2. The game's production values are astounding, its lighting is beautiful, and the whole map is full of amazing detail. The game is also playable entirely in first person, very much like GTA 5, and while it does look very impressive in first person and you can really appreciate the amount of work and effort that's gone into the game, the third person perspective is still the best way to play it. Red Dead Redemption 2 is easily one of the best, heck if not the best looking games of this generation. It just oozes quality throughout. Playing on PS4 Pro, you treat it to a high resolution and a more stable frame rate. The base PS4 is also very respectable, and actually, while it doesn't look quite as good as the Pro, the frame rate isn't as stable, but is still very much playable on the base console if that's your console of choice. On the music and sound front, the game is just as brilliant as every other part of the game. The game's voice cast is incredibly strong, featuring plenty of top-notch voice work who help deliver this brilliant story well. As for the game's soundtrack, oh my! This is another knockout, and this is a pure and authentic Western soundtrack as they come. Each and every track of this impeccable original soundtrack is made with such utter care and attention. This is one of the most impressive soundtracks of this generation, easily. Conclusion time now, and Red Dead Redemption 2 is easily Rockstar's best work to date. Their ultimate magnum opus of a game that rarely comes out once a generation. A game with such care and attention to detail, it really does have to truly be seen to be believed. It's a technical masterpiece with some of the most beautiful and photorealistic visuals ever seen on consoles. It's not just that, Rockstar has also created a stunning, believable world that feels alive, with every NPC feeling like an individual. It's all wrapped up with a fantastic and poignant story that is honestly one of the best in the industry. Red Dead Redemption 2 is epic. Epic in length, scale, story, production values, and whilst there is some minor flaws here and there, there's no denying that this is gaming at its ultimate finest, and it's a journey that everyone should go on. So that's why I'm giving Red Dead Redemption 2 a 10 out of 10 with the title of Masterpiece. Thank you everyone for watching my review. Like, rate and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming. Bye.